At first, I tried making these cross cuts with my chop saw, but the pieces just went flying or got sucked up into my dust collection. The bandsaw is not as dead accurate as a radial saw, but it presents a smaller kerf and it doesn't kick back wood quite so violently. I use a stop block pressed up against my fence and a miter gauge. You generally don't want to make cross cuts with the wood pinched against the fence, as it can lead to a projectile situation. Considering I had to make roughly 1,800 cross cuts, one at a time just wasn't going to cut it. Bundling together not only increased my efficiency greatly, it also prevented tear out and pieces getting sucked into my dust collection. Usually I would use a piece of plywood for a zero clearance throat plate, but because I had to use my miter gauge, I didn't really have a choice. Blue tape to the rescue. I suspect I'll be finding little pieces of wood throughout my shop for weeks. One downside to my bundling method, some poor sap has to peel off all that tape. Because my wood shop is actually my non-air conditioned garage, and it's Florida, in the summer, I actually move inside to complete the tape removal process. It takes another 20 minutes.
Making it rain.
Now that I've finished the mosaic pieces, I'm moving on to make the box lid. It will be a maple frame using miter joints around walnut. So I just got done resawing this walnut. I'm going to be book matching, as you can see right here. I'm going to use this giant beam I found in somebody's trash. I can't believe they threw away that much wood, even though it's pine. It's like what, 6 by 4. So I'm just going to use that with my vise here, and all I'm going to do is use the weight of that wood to clamp this, and that's it. I'm going to use this veneer glue that I have. It's actually kind of a dark brown color, so it'll probably show up less with walnut. So I'm going to be gluing up both these. This is going to be the base of my box and underneath the lid. I'm just stacking both pieces side by side, and I'm going to put the glue right down here, and then I'm going to use my little veneer glue roller to get a nice even coat. And I'm obviously only gluing the two pieces that are meeting. These are going to be separate boards, but I don't see the harm in pressing them all together in one kind of big long row there, just for efficiency's sake. Oh, one other thing I neglected to mention, this is a piece of MDF with like a laminated top, so it's very non-sticky, and it's also very smooth right now because I have never done any gluing on it, unlike my workbench, which is just riddled with glue, so making the surface pretty uneven. So squeeze out is the bane of my existence. Definitely got a little squeeze out here, but like I said, I'm just using the weight of this wood braced up against this to press it into place. You know, it's kind of like a cowl almost, because it's not, you know, even pressure across, but more towards the middle. But I don't think you really need a lot of pressure to glue these up. They're pretty thin to begin with. You know, any more pressure and they'd probably pop up or buckle. One of these days I'm going to get myself a planer and a jointer. I know there's some pretty affordable ones out there, but I've decided to only buy tools once and use them forever. And I have my heart set on a nice helical head combo machine. I made the mistake of buying some cheaper tools in the past, and I always ended up regretting it. Don't buy Wen products. In the meantime, I'll use this hand plane. I've never worked with walnut before, but I guess the same thing that makes it so nice to look at, all that wavy grain, also makes it a nightmare for tear out. I actually did make a shooting board, but this box lid is some 13 inches long, which is too much for that jig. So my plane upside down in a vise will let me get to the exact width I need. I'm hand cutting my miters. Getting miters exactly right is really challenging. While slower, I feel like I have better control using a handsaw. If you're off by even a fraction of an inch, it really shows. I need to get around to making a right angle shooting board. That way you just overcut the size of the miter by a 32nd of an inch or so, and then you just shave it to size one pass of the plane at a time. Of course, I'm using blue tape to hold these miters together. Not a sponsor. Oh yeah, I've cut rabbets into the bottom of the frame to accept this lid. This presents more surface area for glue up and just looks nicer than a butt joint.